After the introduction, we'll be hearing from representatives of the two award-winning institutions.
Greetings. I'm Wade Crowfoot, California's Natural Resources Secretary. The work of our agency is focused on stewarding our natural environment. And in that role, we are proud to partner with the California Association of Museums in recognizing cultural institutions and museums who are doing extraordinary work advancing environmental sustainability. And we do that by issuing the Secretary's Sustainability Awards to recognize these institutions. Today, I'm excited to recognize two institutions advancing environmental sustainability. The first is the Wildling Museum of Art and Nature, located in Solvang, California, within Santa Barbara County. The Wildling brings together an appreciation and understanding of our environment with art that celebrates the natural environment and is often made within the natural environment. And the Wildling Museum deserves significant credit and this award for improving its operations as a museum to advance environmental sustainability, conducting an audit of how operations can improve to reduce carbon footprint, and then taking actions to reduce that footprint, including an energy overhaul and the installation of LED lighting in the facility and the installation of solar energy on the building. Congratulations to the leadership of the Wildling Museum for all of the work you do and for your focus on improving the environmental sustainability of your operations. The second award goes to the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum, another well-loved museum in Santa Barbara County. Of course, sharing the story of our rich maritime history in Santa Barbara and across the state. And the Maritime Museum receives an award for its focus on advancing environmental sustainability through public education. The Maritime Museum has created the Maritime Museum on the go, providing essentially packets of information that can be used by students and by local residents to actually get out there into the coastal environment and learn about all of the topics that the museum covers actually out in the community and in nature. And it's that type of focus on expanding accessibility to the museum that, of course, makes the Maritime Museum deserving of this award. So huge congratulations to these two remarkable institutions walking the walk on advancing California's priorities to improve our environmental sustainability. And if I can take a moment to thank all of the museums and cultural institutions across our state. This has been a challenging last couple of years given the global pandemic. And I think we appreciate more than ever the role of our museums and cultural institutions in our own lives and the life of our community. And I want to thank museum leaders and the community supporting museums for helping our museums and cultural institutions weather this challenging period and really leave that period or move into a new phase in a more energized, more accessible, more forward-looking way than ever. We at the California Natural Resources Agency, and of course on behalf of Governor Gavin Newsom, look forward to working with you more closely than ever to advance the important mission of the California Association of Museums and all of its members. Thank you so much.
All right, and we have representatives of our two award-winning institutions here today to accept their awards and to give case studies about their projects. Stacey and Liz received their awards earlier this week, and there it is. There's the award. Thank you. And if you have any questions for the presenters, you can either put them in the chat or save them for the Q&A portion following both of the presentations. So first, we will hear from Stacey Otte-Demangate, the Executive Director of the Wildling Museum of Art and Nature, for operational recognition.
Thank you so much. We are very, very proud to receive this. We were a little surprised, but very proud, and happy to share about what we've done to become more sustainable. And I'm going to pull up my share screen here, hopefully. And here we go. So I thought what I would do is kind of walk you through how we got to this point. And of course, there's much further work to be done. There always is with this kind of thing. We are a very small institution. I'll backtrack and say that our actual mission is to use art exhibitions and programs to inspire our community and visitors to enjoy, value, and conserve wildlife and natural areas. So you can see we are definitely a museum that wanted to walk our talk, and have definitely done a lot of things to put that into action. We actually opened our doors in 2000 in Los Olivos, which is the historic house building on the left, and then we moved to a secondary home in 2009, which is the building on the right. And then we did make a third and what we consider our final home 8 years ago in 2013. We do have a very small staff. We only have 3 full-time folks and 2 other part-time. And we have a small budget. So we're consistently under that $500,000 mark. So we're not working with lots of departments of people or a very large budget at all. So I'm showing you the a construction photo from when we moved into our current home here in Solvang. And I realized that it was an opportunity to build in sustainable operations now as much as we could afford. I initially, I think, had dreams of becoming LEED certified, and quickly realized that our move was happening very quickly. It was a very condensed time period, and that level was not going to be able to happen, but that didn't mean we couldn't make efforts, which we did. So we did definitely build in LED lighting. That was one of the main things that I wanted to have us accomplish in the new facility for a lot of reasons. Obviously, energy consumption being number one. And LED puts out a whole lot less heat than other kinds of lighting. We had come from a place that had halogen in our track fixtures, and I well knew in working with the lights how hot those were and how much heat really, they can put out in a room. So it was a splurge on the front end, but obviously in the long run really saves funds in terms of how they operate. So excuse the photo of the urinal, but we, again, just what can we do and build in while the construction was happening? And someone suggested a waterless urinal. And so we did do that. And it's not attractive, but it does save a ton of water. So if you have that opportunity, highly recommend that. A staff member at the time was aware of water fountains that also had attachments for a water bottle refiller. And that was a no-brainer. There was a little bit extra cost in having that, but definitely worth the effort. We do sometimes use it to fill other things. So we have not saved 4,000 bottles as it says on the little counter at the top, but we definitely have saved from use of a lot of plastic bottles. So we opened up our doors in August of 2013, which obviously when you move into a new facility means you've got a lot of things that you're juggling. It was a lot more space to program in terms of our exhibitions. We had an actual classroom that was a dedicated space so we could do more art classes. But I was aware pretty quickly after moving in here about the California Green Business Network, which obviously has a Santa Barbara County outlet here, and was getting pretty inspired and wondering, what it would take in order to be a certified California green business. And if you've ever thought about it, I would highly recommend that you do it, because it's a wonderful education opportunity by going through that process. So I'm showing you some screenshots for their current website, which walks you through all these different categories of areas that you can work on becoming more sustainable. And then you kind of score yourselves, and hopefully maybe you make some quick improvements because you become more aware of something, and then you find out after the end of it, you know, have you scored enough that you can become a certified green business. Here in Santa Barbara County, we have Fran Gilliland, and I know the Maritime Museum folks know her well, as they're also green certified. And she in particular was wonderful about working with us. So if we had any questions about anything, she was always there to walk us through what we might be able to do affordably in order to, you know, advance ourselves. So that was just a wonderful resource. And then we were finally certified in 2016. So the other thing was, yeah, it did take a while because we were juggling all the other stuff that was happening, as being almost kind of restarting ourselves here in this new location. And we were very proud of getting that. It's if you don't know, there's a recertification every 3 years. And once you are certified, you are made aware of that. And the goal is that you would raise the bar the next time you go through the certification process. So I always had in the back of my mind, like, okay, what are we going to do better so that we can get recertified? And I always had hoped that maybe we might be able to get solar here. We're physically well positioned, had a roof that I thought might be accessible and useful for that. And then magically, I found out that the Community Environmental Council here in Santa Barbara was offering a solarized nonprofit program. So I did a screenshot of that on their website for you. Because of budgets and other projects that we had going on, buying our building, we just didn't have a lot of cash to do the upfront costs of a whole solar system, which probably a lot of you are in that same position. So they were a wonderful partner for us to reach out to see if maybe this would work. And indeed, they were excited that we reached out, and it was a kind of a long exploratory process, but we did have the right kind of roof and so forth, and we were approved, and then the board had to, you know, approve the contract and look through things. So it did take a few years. But in the end of last year, so right about almost a year ago, it was either October or November, we finally were able to flip the switch and start running on solar, which was a big accomplishment for us. Here's one of the shots of them raising up the solar panels onto our roof, and a little peek at our roof, which is not at all how it looks from the outside. So you don't see solar panels, which in our community was very important, because that would have not gone very well with local authorities, because the look of Solvang as a Danish town is very important. But thankfully, we do have a flat roof, and it was kind of more a facade that you see from the outside. So everything did work out. The panels provide about 80% of our energy. And the way the program works is that they do all the upfront costs, and then we have about a 6-year contract with Asteri Solar. So we, our PG&E bill for what we get from them has shrunk to very, very little, which is wonderful, even during summer, even running air conditioning. And then we pay Asteri Solar off for the panels, which is actually based on how much they're generating. So it does vary a little bit, but basically we're not paying much more than we ever paid in our utility bills. And in about 6 years, we will own the panels outright, and then we'll be paying next to nothing for our power here. So just very exciting. And I have to say, without the community partners that we had to work with, a lot of this wouldn't be able to happen. So we're very grateful to CEC, and also just to the Green Business Program, for helping us be able to raise our game in this area. And of course, there's all kinds of simple things that we've implemented, you know, buying 100% recycled paper, bathroom products, green cleaning products. And all of this stuff is becoming more affordable, and probably most or all of you are doing it already. We ditched using plastic for receptions, so we have reusable glassware, or we buy compostable plastic and paper plates, but we really try and focus on reusable as much as possible, and you know, fewer mailings. But if we do a mailing, then we make sure that, you know, we're printing on recycled paper when we actually do them. The most recent thing that we did that I'm happy that the board approved was we did actually create a sustainability business pledge and policy that they formally adopted at the beginning of this year. It is on our website under the About Us tab if anyone's interested. I did look at other sustainability policies, green policies that other institutions have done, and kind of cobbled together what made sense for who we are as an institution and what we can do. And one element of this, which isn't showing on the screenshot, is that we are committing to talking about climate change. I think we all know that in the past, there was this kind of feeling that maybe we don't want to alienate certain community members, certain supporters by being very overt about that. And I think we all know that we're past that at this point. But it was important from my point of view as the executive director to see the board committing to that institutionally. So we have this policy now to build off of and for other decision making. The other thing we do here all the time, because of the kind of mission that we have, is we let the art do the talking. And we display a whole range of artwork. And here are two pieces that are pretty regularly in our lobby. So visitors, whether they pay or not, do see this. We have a trashy vulture on the left, created by Ventura artist Keith Puccinelli. And he's a great talking point. He's wonderful for when we have school groups, especially come in here. He's innately attractive in an unattractive kind of way. And the conversations that get spurred by just looking at him with school kids is, I just delight in that. I love it. And then above our front desk, so basically across from where our vulture stands, is this California condor, who was made by a local artist here in our community named Stacey Thompson. And she was involved in a group that was cleaning out a firing range because all these shells had just been, were literally littering the ground, and they didn't know what to do with it. And so we collectively came up with this idea, and I said, could you maybe do a condor? And she's like, sure. And I said, could you make it life size, you know, like 9 feet wingspan? She's like, sure. And lo and behold, within, I don't think it was, I don't know, maybe 3 months, she did this project, which weighs, I don't know, 150 pounds or so, and hangs above our desk, and is another incredible talking point, because there's so many layers to what you can talk about with our condor here. So using, you know, upcycling is something that we do talk a lot about. We've done different kinds of kids crafts during COVID. Like everybody, we pivoted online as quickly as possible and created videos, and did these short, fun little videos, which are on our virtual visit page, as well as our YouTube channel, and things like turning egg cartons into cute little, you know, critters. So upcycling is something that we definitely enjoy talking about and doing. We still have a stack of toilet paper tubes. We save a lot of our toilet paper tubes from our bathrooms, you know, so that then kids can turn them into something. So I want to mention that I love being here in Santa Barbara County and working with our fellow museums in our county. And I know Greg at the Maritime Museum and Liz are here on the call as well. And because of COVID, we started meeting regularly online, like probably maybe you have as well. And out of that was sort of the spinoff of what we now call ourselves the Environmental Alliance of Santa Barbara County Museums. And there's 13 of us now dedicated to focusing on climate change next year for about 6 months, April through September being that main time period. And we're calling that project Impact Climate Change and the Urgency of Now. We're all going to be handling it a little bit differently. We're all doing exhibitions and/or programming around the topic. But I think one of the exciting things, besides how many of us are participating, is the incredible diversity of institutions that are participating and talking about climate change. The Santa Barbara Mission, Historical Trust, Historic Museum, the Zoo, Botanical Garden, Maritime Museum, they're part of it. I mean, there's 13, I'll never remember all of them. The Art Museum, Elverhoy up here in Solvang. It's just super exciting having worked on this now for probably about a year. And now getting to the point of fundraising for mutual expenses that we're all going to have through this effort. And then we're going to be launching it at the Community Environmental Council Earth Day event on the Earth Day weekend. So we're very excited about that. And then what we're doing here, our main exhibition is going to be called Fire and Ice, Our Changing Landscape, which will feature contemporary, very diverse artwork, including video installations. But we just started a conversation with a group called Corazon del Pueblo, which is in Santa Maria, North County, Santa Barbara, so that we can include youth and more diverse and inclusive perspectives. So we're asking them to see, to share with us through their art, their perspectives on climate change. You know, we're a heavily agricultural community up here. So there are a lot of workers out there in the sun and the heat and the drought being very impacted by all of this. So we definitely want to make sure that we offer them a space to include their voices. So I want to thank you so much, both to CAM and the California Natural Resources Agency for honoring us. I feel like it's a journey we're always on. I always am very aware of what we haven't been able to do yet, but we just appreciate being acknowledged for what we have been able to do. So thank you so much.
Stacey, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all about the wonderful work that you're doing. We're thrilled to honor all the Wildlings' work. And now we also have another institution from Santa Barbara, Liz Perry, and Liz, you've got a guest with you.
I do. I have Linda Sterling with us, and she is on our board of directors and also our chair of our education committee. So
awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us, and you've got your award. So there it is for everybody to see. So Liz Perry is the education director of the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum, and your award is for programmatic recognition for Maritime on the Move. And we're excited to hear from you about that project.
Awesome. And I will just share my screen here in a minute. Let's see. Let's start. All right. I'm assuming everyone can see my screen. Awesome. So we just wanted to say thank you. This program was, a year long in the works, but it really did come out quite successful, and we are just really excited about it. And I don't know if Linda wants to say anything or.
Well, I'm a former educator, and I think that the beauty of this program is we have had the opportunity through Maritime on the Move to actually get children in their own local environment to the ocean and to understand the habitats right in their own backyard. And for us, that's been just super rewarding. We have 3 different versions of Maritime on the Move.
We have, so in Santa Barbara, we kind of call it the tri-counties here. So we have, South County, which is like Carpinteria, and then Santa Barbara in the middle, and then North County, which some people include, Solvang and the Wilding. And I'm actually from Solvang, so I live there. So we love the Wilding. And we have Santa Maria, like Stacey mentioned. So we have one in each of those locations. But we're going to share a little video that we did that talks about the Maritime on the Move that we actually do down here in the Santa Barbara Harbor. So I will play that.
Hi, I'm Holly Loheis, one of the naturalists here at the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum. And welcome to one of our newest programs, Maritime on the Move. We are here in the Santa Barbara Harbor, and this is one of the really fun activities where you could utilize the resources we provided, download the little booklet, and enjoy some history, cultural history, as well as the beautiful natural beauty of the Santa Barbara Harbor. From the commercial working boats that are here, as well as a lot of recreational opportunities. This activity at the Santa Barbara Harbor, we're going to start along the fish walk and walk you out towards the ocean, go explore the sandy beach, as well as walk along the break wall all the way down to the sand spit down there, which marks the entrance to Santa Barbara Harbor. So these are one of many activities that we want you to appreciate what's in your own backyard and really to understand the maritime history and the long human cultural history here. So let's go. When you first arrive here in the Santa Barbara Harbor, you could walk along what we call the fish walk and learn about all the important commercial fishermen that are here in the Santa Barbara Harbor. This harbor supports an opportunity for a lot of these commercial fisheries to access the Santa Barbara Channel and to fish around the Channel Islands. Some very healthy, sustainable seafood that comes from our local waters. And along the signage, you can learn about the different methods on the fishing gear that they use to harvest the different seafood, and really just to appreciate the hard work it takes to bring in some of your favorite seafood. But also, most importantly, most of our fisheries here are sustainably harvested, and you as a consumer could support the wonderful work that our local fishermen do to bring in your favorite seafood. So as you come along the fish walk and you see a lot of the different commercial fishing boats all along here, you could actually come here at the end of the day, and depending on the season, you can see a lot of the fishermen bring in their catch right here. So not only do we see the boats coming in with the big baskets of red sea urchins, maybe even our local kelp harvesting boat might be coming in and dropping off a big boat full of kelp. So really neat to see a working pier in action of all the different commercial fisheries. And today it looks like even our local Coast Guard is here at this part of the pier called the Santa Barbara City Pier. So a little geography lesson here. When you walk out to the end of the break wall here, we're looking right over to Shermans Wharf. A beautiful view of the San Ynez Mountains. In fact, it's so clear today we can see La Cumbre Peak, which is really right above the Santa Barbara Mission. But I want you to take a look at this compass, because as we are along the west coast here of Southern California, and when we look straight out to sea, what direction do you think we're looking? You would think we'd be looking due west off the California coast, because this coastline runs from the west to the east. Due south is then straight offshore looking out towards the Channel Islands. And what's really interesting of our local geography here is so do our mountain ranges also run from the west to the east. And that has a big play in our weather conditions here, as well as our currents and the oceanographic conditions within the Santa Barbara Channel. So really all connected. As we look at the geography, you learn a little bit about the local conditions and looking due south as we look straight out to sea. It's so fun to walk along the boardwalk here and all the way out to the sand spit. And here we are along this big break wall of rocks that were actually taken from Santa Cruz Island. There was a large quarry out there at Price Harbor to collect all these big boulders. And this is what protects the beautiful Santa Barbara Harbor from the treacherous conditions of the Santa Barbara Channel. Of course, if it's incoming or outgoing tide and it's low enough, then I personally like to jump on over here to the sand and go see what we can see out here at the sand spit. As we walk along here, you could easily see what's fun about a Maritime on the Move is we're talking about the currents and the tides. And here, because of what we call the rack line, you can see where the high tide comes up. And as we know, as the incoming tide is coming in, it brings really important nutrients. And I'm walking along a really important sandy beach habitat. And oh, and here comes another big group of California brown pelicans. Really pretty here. These California brown pelicans are heading out to sea. Maybe they're out to go fishing. They specifically feed on anchovies as one of their favorite food. So just the fact that we have such a healthy population of pelicans today, we have these offshore Channel Islands, especially West Anacapa Island, which is really considered the largest nesting site for California brown pelicans off of the west coast of North America, both Anacapa Island and Santa Barbara Island. So here in Santa Barbara Harbor, a lot of the birds that we see are successful in their numbers because of the isolation of the Channel Islands. And that's all an important part of the program we do here, ties in those connections between the harbor, all these working boats and private boats and recreational boats, and how that's all connected to this amazing gateway out across the Santa Barbara Channel and out to the Channel Islands National Park and National Marine Sanctuary. Shermans Wharf today is one of the oldest wharfs, and it's a beautiful tourist destination today, wonderful sea center, with some really nice restaurants and a great place just to walk out of Shermans Wharf out to the very end and appreciate why wharfs are built to provide a location for boats to pull up. And it made the city of Santa Barbara just grow in popularity by having a working wharf here back in the 1870s. So another challenge when we build a break wall like this, we're changing some of the oceanographic conditions, especially the longshore currents. And when a break wall goes in like this, it causes a deposit of the sand. And that's what the sand spit was formed because of the break wall. But what it also causes is a lot of the sand and silt gets deposited in the mouth of the harbor. But certain times of the year, the currents are so strong and there's such a buildup of sediment and silt that it closes off the entrance of the harbor. So the city of Santa Barbara with the Santa Barbara Harbor employs a dredge, and the dredge at least twice a year, and it really depends on our winter storms, but twice a year we'll dredge. And what the dredge is like a huge underwater vacuum. And what it's doing is vacuuming up all the silt and sediment and sand, and then shipping it into pipes all the way down to East Beach where it is deposited. So a great opportunity to really understand that as soon as you build a harbor, it doesn't mean you can't just let it be. You have to continuously make sure it's an open, safe entrance for all the boats to safely get in and out. So when we're walking along the beach and we see this rack line, I love to find part of the giant kelp forest that washes ashore. So think about in the wintertime, we get some pretty significant weather here, of course, in the Santa Barbara Channel, big west swells, really strong northwesterly winds. And when it is really rough further offshore, it's enough to kind of rip off the kelp from the rocky reef offshore. And then the kelp will just come in with the tides. But my question for you, do you think this is dead piece of kelp? Well, what's fun about finding a really good holdfast is you could kind of come down to it and look at, I'm barely touching it. And when I lift it up, look at all the animals that depend on it. So even though this piece of kelp is no longer this amazing underwater ecosystem of the giant kelp forest, when it does wash ashore, it provides a very important place to rest and to eat for all these little isopods and tiny little crustaceans, all these little beach fleas and kelp flies. Imagine this being like 80 feet tall, heading up towards the surface where, of course, it photosynthesizes. But this is the anchor. So the kelp is not a true vascular plant. It doesn't have like a root system, but instead it has this holdfast, which is really the anchor that anchors down this brown algae or giant kelp to a rocky reef. And then this individual piece of stipes that grow up from the holdfast creates this amazing underwater forest. Because of the resources that were utilized here, and once the Shermans Wharf was built, of course, this city became very popular. But who were here before we really developed this? Of course, it was the Native Americans, the Chumash Indians. And we know the Native Americans lived along this part of the California coast. It was such a popular place to build their villages because of the abundance of natural resources that are found here in Santa Barbara. So between the intertidal with a lot of shellfish and abalone and lobster and crab that they depended on, but also the offshore rocky reef of the giant kelp forest was a great place for them to paddle out to in their tamuls and fish, an abundance of fish that were consistently available for them all year round. And even the offshore islands were very popular for the Native Americans, for the Chumash Indians. When the first European came up in this part of the world, Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo in 1542, he guesstimated that there were maybe 3,000 Native Americans living on 3 of the 4 northern Channel Islands. So really extensive human history here along the part of the coast, and a lot of beautiful stories and legends from the Chumash. And one of my favorite is the Rainbow Bridge story that just really highlights the connection that the Chumash had with our local marine mammals, and specifically the dolphins. So learn all about the Chumash Indians. They really are such an important part of our California history. Of course, at the Maritime Museum, some beautiful exhibits about the Chumash and how they were really great paddlers, very seafaring culture, dependent on trade up and down the coast, using their planked canoes or their tamuls, and very seaworthy type of vessel that they then used to trade up and down the coast for different types of resources they needed, as well as trading with the island Chumash. In fact, there were some things found on the islands that were not found here along the mainland, such as chert, that was used as tools, especially to make the monies. So a lot of great stories here of the Chumash Indians, and just to appreciate, this probably was a village site along the Santa Barbara coast that we are enjoying today as a harbor. So look at this shorebird over here. This is called a willet. And why would a willet have such a long beak? Oh, look at it fish. What do you think it's hunting? Well, one of our fun activities we're going to do is we're going to go dig down like a willet and see what it might be hunting. But that long beak is that perfect adaptation to be able to dig down. And there's a lot of different shorebirds here. And to identify the different shorebirds is we do look at the size of their body. We look at the size of that beak. So using that beak to dig down into the sand right where the incoming wave is, and it's looking for little sand crabs. So from here, this is just such a beautiful view looking back towards the city of Santa Barbara and the Santa Barbara Harbor as you walk out here to the very end of the break wall. And you can see a lot of the different kinds of boats here in the harbor, from all the pleasure boats and sailboats, but quite an important working harbor too. And one of the ways as an individual to jump on a boat and head out to sea is to jump on one of the whale watching boats here in the Santa Barbara Harbor. In fact, right now we see the Condor Express heading out on its noon whale watching trip. And depending on the time of year, the whale watching boats will either go out for a shorter 2.5-hour whale watching trip. Those are generally in the winter and spring months. And the Condor is going to be heading out looking for the migrating Pacific gray whales. In the end of March, they're actually on their northbound migration. They've left their protective warm waters of the lagoons of Baja, Mexico, where the gray whales have spent the winter months of January and February. The females are down there to give birth, and the other females are there to reproduce with all the males, and they will give birth next year. So about a 12-month gestation. So you're going to finish your Maritime on the Move here in the Santa Barbara Harbor, upstairs on the 4th floor of the outdoor Santa Barbara Visitor Center. And wow, what a view you have from up here. Up here is where we really wrap up the importance of the Santa Barbara Harbor, the maritime history, the amazing human history, the commercial fisheries and the sport fishing, as well as all the recreational opportunities, and just a beautiful view of the city of Santa Barbara. And offshore from this little gem part of our Southern California coast is one of the best hidden secrets of Southern California, the Channel Islands National Park and Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary. Right offshore, 5 islands that make up this beautiful national park, considered the Galapagos Islands of the North Pacific because of the unique plants and animals that are only found on the Channel Islands. And then around the islands is one of only 14 national marine sanctuaries here within the United States, the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, because of the abundance and productivity of this amazing marine environment here in the Santa Barbara Channel. So a lot of ways to appreciate and enjoy, and most importantly, learn about your own backyard. And it's starting right here in the Santa Barbara Harbor. So the Santa Barbara Harbor is just one of 3 Maritime on the Move programs at the Santa Barbara Maritime Museum. Our other 2 programs includes down in Carpinteria, where you can learn about the natural environments from the Carpinteria Salt Marsh and the sandy beach, walking over to the Harbor Seal Rookery, and even see some of the natural seeps of the oil as part of the tar pits there. The other program is up the coast, up in the north part of Santa Barbara County, where you could enjoy a beautiful boardwalk along Oso Flaco Lake and walk out to the beach along the central coast there, close to the Guadalupe sand dunes.
All right, so that is kind of our video about our Maritime on the Move. And again, just want to thank, all of these wonderful organizations, as well as all these museums today. I'm just so inspired by what everybody else does. It makes you want to run out and do more and do as much as we possibly can. So just again, thank you so much for this award.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much, Liz and Stacey and all Santa Barbara Maritime Museum and the Wildling Museum of Art and Nature for accepting CAM's award and for bringing your presentations to us. I know I loved learning more about both of your projects, so thank you. Mark had to step away, which is why I am speaking right now. But I do want to open it up to any questions. We have a minute or two for if anyone has questions that they'd like to ask Stacey or Liz, either in the chat or by unmuting yourself and asking yourself. I know there was a couple of comments in the chat about how wonderful the condor is at the Wildling.
Yeah, we feel very lucky to have that. And it was just such a wonderful thing that kind of happened almost spontaneously. So we feel very lucky, and people really do enjoy it.
I'm gonna move into gallery view so we can see if anyone does have questions or comments they'd like to share. We'll give another minute or two, and feel free to interrupt me, but I did want to just comment on both the Wildling and the Maritime Museum. One thing that really stood out the committee about both of your projects on the Wildling, for example, really showcasing what a small museum can do to further sustainability through just consistent commitment. And Stacey, what you've done is really admirable. And then on the Maritime side, Maritime on the Move is such a wonderful program, especially thinking during COVID about how we can share love of our natural world and appreciation and continued learning about what's in our backyards from anywhere, really. I mean, all over the county. So thank you both so much. I know that we are coming up on time, and Soli had a couple of closing remarks to share. So if anyone did have questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat, and we can move into our closing remarks now.
Thank you, Lacey, and for just managing and keeping us all together today. I also want to extend a very sincere thank you to Stacey and Liz, and congratulations to them and their institutions on being the recipients of this year's Secretary Award. It's incredible work what you're doing, and it sets a great example for the museum community to keep on working towards greater goals. I also wanted to extend a deep thank you to all the speakers today, Moises and Cameron, for sharing their perspectives on environmental justice and what they're doing to further along the conversation. Also, my deepest thank yous to the panel for museums and approaches to environmental justice, and sharing with us how each one of your institutions is changing the way we look at environmental justice, and making us aware of how much we can grow and we still need to work for. Also, one of the things that we also wanted to let you know towards the end of this session today, and I also did want to mention, I'm confident that all of your conversations in the great breakout rooms were as valuable as the ones that we had in the arts breakout room. You definitely learn a lot from these conversations about what others are doing in the field, and it gives you another perspective of how you can think of to improve your own institution and your space. So thank you for sharing and the candidness that was shared during those breakout rooms. Truly valuable for all of us. And now for some housekeeping as well. You will receive a program evaluation to help us continue to improve our programming. Recordings of each presentation will be available next week and provided via email. So watch out for an email from Lacey or Addie with these links. We'd love to see you at our upcoming in-person programs. And we also would love to hear from you for these evaluations. Feedback, as we all know in the museum industry, they make us improve and better serve you as an association. Please join us for our upcoming program in collaboration with the Western Museum Association, an in-person event at the Oakland Museum of California for a workshop on museums and creative aging on October 20th. So that's coming up pretty soon. And finally, CAM is planning a series of 5 in-person mini conferences for the spring of 2022. Titled CAM Across California, Shifting Terrains. We have an open call, and a request for proposals is going on right now, and it's open through November 12th. So visit our website. The website is included here as well, and we'll be putting some links in the chat too that you can click through and look for the instructions on how to submit your panel. We'd love to hear from you, and thank you so much to everybody for being with us today. Any last comments? I think we have 5 more minutes left in today's session.